Hey everybody, this is Darth Tigger, and welcome to Darth Tigger's Totally Biased Reviews. I know I haven't done one of these for a long time, and as you can see, the format's a little bit different than what I normally do, because I'm going to start doing something a little bit more or better here. I think I'm going to start actually writing down some notes before I do these things, so that hopefully I'll give you a better review. So today's review is on Justice League, and I'm going to do a kind of a non-spoiler review and then more of a spoilery review. So hopefully if you haven't seen the movie and you want to stop before I give you the spoilery review, then you're more than welcome to do that. So this is the show about biases, and where I tell you what I went to see, how I liked it, and then we talk about our biases to decide whether or not you share the same bias as I do and whether or not you're going to like the same things that I do. So hopefully, even if I like something or didn't like something and you like something different than I do, you'll still get some value out of what I'm about to get across to you. So let's talk about my biases here first of all, at least how they pertain to Justice League. So I love comic books. I've always loved comic books. I love superheroes, and I've always loved superheroes. I love comic book movies. I've loved most of the comic book movies that have come down the pipe. I really love what Marvel is doing right now. I also really do like what the DC Universe is doing on the CW right now. I think it's really good stuff. I also love action movies. And I've liked several of the actors. In fact, actually, I've liked almost all of the actors, at least the ones that I've known, in most of their previous movies. I did, however, dislike The Man of Steel for some reasons that we'll go into a little bit later. I hated, and maybe hated isn't strong enough a word, but I hated Batman vs. Superman, and I hated Suicide Squad. And if you care that much about why, I can get into that at length later. I actually wrote up reviews for both of them, but never put them to video because I didn't want to sound like a bit of a Debbie Downer here on this one. But yeah, I hated them. I like movies that suck me into the story, movies that have mostly good writing. But I like superhero movies, so I don't necessarily need that hard-hitting of a plot. I hate movies that break me out of the story. I hate movies with lazy writing or with things that just make you go, huh? So, having said all of that, I liked this movie. Now, it was too short. It bounced around too much. It looked like it wasn't cut well, but I'll talk about that further. I mean, it was cut to the best of the ability that it could be, but if it had been shot differently, I think it could have been better. It was much too dark at times. I think the original movie was meant to be much darker, and that would have been a crappy movie. I'm glad we didn't get that one. It was lazy writing at times. But all in all, it was a good movie. I was able to be sucked into the story. I was able to follow along with the story. It wasn't different enough from the characters that I know and love from having grown up with them. It wasn't different enough that it really knocked me out of that story. And there were none of the really jarring moments that came in Batman vs. Superman that just took me totally out of the story. In fact, this was far and away a better film than Batman vs. Superman. In fact, the only movie in the current DC universe that was better than this was Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman I thought was a wonderful movie. Absolutely wonderful movie. They did a great job on it. This was closer to the movie that I would expect from the comic books. However, and I'll get into this again in the spoilery side of this, I don't think it was originally shot that way. I think that was all due to two people in particular, and neither one of them is named Zack Snyder. I thought Ben Affleck did a wonderful job as I'm going to call him Old Man Batman. I like Ben Affleck as as an actor. I was cautious when they first cast him as Batman, but when I saw him in the suit, I was an instant convert. And honestly, I think that Ben Affleck has been the best thing about these last two movies. Gal Gadot also, I thought, did a great job in this movie. I was skeptical of her when they cast her. I've always thought, I still kind of think she's too small to be Wonder Woman, but the way they've done it, she does look right in the role, and she does a wonderful job acting it, so I'm very happy with her. Jason Momoa, I think, was the real standout, or at least the real surprise standout in this movie. I think he did a wonderful job. Now, his Aquaman is a bit different than what you're used to, but the comic book Aquaman, or the Aquaman from the from the Super Friends days, was a real forgettable character, and there was a lot of knocks on him for that. And they changed that. They fixed that with this. So that is one change I'm actually quite happy with. And Jason Momoa did an absolute wonderful job playing this. Ezra Miller did a very good job playing this. He's a slightly different Barry than you're used to, but nonetheless, it was a good film, and it was definitely worth seeing. So, checking my notes. So that's the non-spoilery part. Now, spoiler alert, okay? We're now about to get into spoilers. So this movie was too short. Whoever made the decision that this movie had to be cut to 2 hours, that was a stupid decision. And I mean stupid in the extreme. I could have easily sat through another 20, 30, maybe even 40 minutes of that film. And I'm starting to get into dangerous territory there, because I'm not saying I wanted more of Zack Snyder's scenes, because every scene that Zack Snyder shot that got cut out was a good thing. Every scene that Joss Whedon filmed that got put in was a good thing. And whoever the studio executive is, or the executives are, that were making these decisions, I have a message for you. You need to hire a director that you trust, and then you need to trust that director and stay out of their way. They are the ones that are making the films, because they are the ones that are good at making the films. You are not good at making films. Every decision that you make, especially the business decisions, are stupid decisions as far as the integrity of the plot goes, or the integrity of the movie goes. And then I have one more thing to say to you, Mr. Executive. Fire Zack Snyder now. I will not pay another dime for a Zack Snyder DC Universe movie. Now, don't get me wrong. Zack Snyder's done a bunch of good movies. He did 300. He did The Watchmen. But The Watchmen is not a superhero film. In fact, The Watchmen is an anti-hero film. Look at, I mean, just to name a few, the comedian, one of the main superheroes of the movie, he kills for fun, and he rapes one of his co-workers' superheroes. Ozymandias tries to kill millions of people in order to save millions more. Dr. Manhattan, easily persuaded by Ozymandias to kill millions of people and his friend. These are not superheroes. These are extraordinary people with extraordinary powers that are not superheroes. In fact, in my opinion, Zack Snyder hates heroes. I don't think he believes in heroes. He believes in extraordinary people. He does not believe in superheroes. DC superheroes come from a time, or at least Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, come from a time when the superheroes were better than the rest of us. They gave us something to look up to. They might, maybe, from time to time be tempted by things, but the answer was always clear to them. They always make the right decision. Superman's nickname in the comic books from all of the other superheroes was the Boy Scout, because he never did anything that a Boy Scout wouldn't do. Batman was the world's greatest detective. He was the epitome of human conditioning. He was intelligent to a fault, and he never killed. And that was the one rule he never broke. Even when you get to Old Man Batman in The Dark Knight Returns, you know, he'd break some bones every now and then if he really had to, but he didn't kill people. Zack Snyder makes that leap, that transition, far too easily. In fact, gleefully, I think, he makes that transition. And that's why his previous two movies, or part of the reason why his previous two, well, actually 3, 4 movies, have been miserable failures. Yeah, okay, sure. You're getting lots of money because DC has a mega fan base and people want these to be good, but you have given us crap over and over and over again. The first good movie that you've given us was Wonder Woman, and this one is the second. And that, all of that, is due to 2 people, and neither one of them is named Zack Snyder. The 2 people that I think, my opinion, are solely responsible for anything good in this movie are Geoff Johns and Joss Whedon. So, Geoff Johns, for those of you who don't know, has been the chief creative officer at DC since 2010. He shepherded the animated universe, and he's done classic superhero movies, and he's done the what-if style movies. But when he does the what-if style movies, he makes them different enough that you don't think that it's just your regular favorite characters and something's not right. Because that pulls me out of the movie. So, Joss Whedon, I think, saved this film. I don't know the circumstances behind why Zack Snyder had to step out. I hear it was tragic. I am terribly sorry for that. But it was the best thing that ever happened to this film. Joss Whedon stepping in was the best thing that ever happened to this film. You can tell, I said that the movie jumps around a lot, it's cut really weird in some places. You can tell that was Joss Whedon trying to fix this movie. As I said, I'm told that he shot over 50 minutes of extra footage for this film. And it's a 2-hour film. So he essentially reshot half of the film after Zack Snyder was done, and then did his level best with the money that they gave him to cut something better that wasn't a crap show that Zack Snyder puts together for superhero films. Okay, so enough about the production. Let's talk about the characters. So I think Henry Cavill, spoiler alert, Superman's alive. I think Henry Cavill does a good job as Superman. I think he can do a much better job as Superman. I think Henry Cavill is a very good actor. I think he can be a very good Superman if people let him. I thought that the superhero character, as we saw him, really did much better. And I don't know, maybe this is because I've got lowered expectations because of all the crap Zack Snyder's fed us already. But I thought Superman was much more that bright, upbeat character that we all know and love. He was much closer to the Boy Scout that we all know and love. And the things that were a little bit weird in it, where, you know, when he comes back from the dead and he's got a different personality, I think that was explained pretty well. I was scared out of my mind when Superman was fighting the Justice League, I was scared out of my mind that Batman was going to say Martha. And I swear to God, I would have gotten up and walked out immediately if that had happened. Instead, what they did was they brought in Lois Lane as the big guns, and she was able to get through to him. So that was a much better plot device. Ben Affleck, I've said it before, I think he does an excellent job as Batman. I want to see more of Ben Affleck as Batman. I know there was a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Now, this is just me speculating, but I honestly believe that Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder were having significant creative differences, and we know that there was a lot of turmoil behind the scenes with Ben Affleck. I hear there might have been some personal problems too. I don't know exactly what was going on there, but I want to see more of Ben Affleck. I think he's a great actor. I think he's a great a director, a great producer. I want to see more of Ben Affleck. The Batman character in this, I mean, while he was old and grumpy, because he's, you know, more the old man Batman, he at least had some sense of humor. It was often a cynical sense of humor, but that's more of what you would expect from Batman. And, you know, he was, I mean, he picked up a quote-unquote rifle at one point, but it wasn't as badly out of character as it was in Batman versus Superman. He pulled it off of one of the parademons and used it to start shooting them. So, I mean, I can kind of overlook that a little bit, but he used his grappler a lot more. I would have liked to have seen him use a lot more of the gadgets, right? Because, like I say, Batman is supposed to be in peak physical condition, the world's greatest detective, and he has marvelous toys. So we need more of that with our Batman. Gal Gadot, I think she did a fine job as Wonder Woman. A couple of other people have pointed out there was a lot of gratuitous ass shots of Gal Gadot this time. I thought that was, well, I mean, yeah, it's a little more in keeping with the comic books, but I thought it was a little more than we needed. In fact, I don't know if we needed them really at all. I think, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot I can say here. I think Gal Gadot is doing a very good job as Wonder Woman, and I'd be happy to see her in another Wonder Woman film as long as Zack Snyder is not the director. Jason Momoa, I've said it before, the surprise standout. Aquaman in this film was a hard-hitting, hard-drinking, hard-assed, sarcastic, funny, and effective member of the Justice League. So I grew up with Aquaman of the comic books and Aquaman of the Super Friends. And the best thing I can say about that Aquaman was he was forgettable. He wasn't, everybody said that he wasn't really a member of the Justice League. Well, Jason Momoa put a stop to that nonsense fast, and I'm really glad that he did. I think he did a wonderful job in this. He had some great quip lines. He was a lot stronger than most of the films that you've seen him, or most of the comic books and animated films that you've seen him in, except a couple of the more recent Jeff Johns ones where they really made Aquaman into more of a badass. Ezra was a slightly different Barry, but he wasn't too different. His Barry was more of a childlike, bumbling, innocent Barry, still with a good sense of humor, always, you know, with a nice quip, which I'm expecting of Barry Allen. So I liked him. I think there's a good shot at a good Flash movie coming out of that. Alfred was excellent. I think the way that they put his character together was great, but I think he was underused. Amy Adams and Diane Lane, who played Lois Lane and Martha Kent, I thought that they were badly underused. Now, Lois was pivotal to the plot, as I said before. She was the big guns that were brought in to make Superman not be insane when they brought him back to the dead. But she should have been treated better. Now, I know that's hard to do because comic book Lois has always been a damsel in distress, and the damsel in distress thing just doesn't fly like it used to. They need to make Lois a stronger character, but honestly, for the pivotal plot point that she portrayed in this movie, I think that she was horribly underused. Um, they Now this might be a little bit nitpicky, but I think they played with the powers a little bit too much. Um, I know they've been making Wonder Woman stronger and stronger over the years, and I know Superman has always been as fast in a foot race or a flying race as Barry. But what Superman has never been as fast as Barry in is the quick around the room and play with everybody in the room and take the bomb apart and pull the bad guy's pants down in between the scenes. Barry Allen has always been able to move faster than molecules. He can phase himself through the molecules of a wall. Superman can't do that. Superman can run really fast, Superman can fly really fast, and maybe beat Barry Allen, the Flash, in a race. But in this movie, they played it as if, while Barry was running around, Superman was able to reach out and grab him, and that shouldn't have been. And the scene that they did with Wonder Woman, where she was saving everybody from the bomb, she was able to walk around bullets and walk in between the ticks of the clock also. And neither of them should have been able to do that. Now, having said that, they did a couple of scenes, especially where Superman was fighting with the Justice League, where Wonder Woman went toe-to-toe with Superman. And while she didn't beat him, she was able to stand up to him very well. And I liked that. Because Wonder Woman is supposed to be, the second most powerful, if not almost as powerful as Superman. They also made Aquaman just a little less powerful, I think, than her, but still amazingly powerful. And the two of them were able to take shots from Superman and give shots to Superman, far more importantly. And I loved that. I thought that was great, especially for what they needed to do later on. However, having said that, when we got to the final battle with Steppenwolf, Steppenwolf is handing everybody their asses. These two people who just stood up to Superman and did remarkably well against him are getting their asses handed to them by Steppenwolf. Okay, so Steppenwolf's powerful. Except that Superman flies in and immediately beats the ever-living crap out of him without even breaking a sweat. So all of a sudden, these two people who were almost as powerful as Superman are nowhere near as powerful as Superman. And that, I thought, was lazy writing. And while we're on the subject of Steppenwolf, the CG was not what it should have been for today's day and age. They should have done way better. That CG was almost cartoonish. I mean, it looked like a computer graphics student did it. They needed to spend more money on that CG, and maybe I'm almost hoping that the reason that they didn't spend more money on the CG was because they had to spend more money on the reshoots to fix the crap that Zack Snyder handed to Joss Whedon. But having said all of that, I really liked it. It really sucked me in, and it really did entertain me. And all of that is due to the actors, it's due to Jeff Johns, and it's due to Joss Whedon. And Zack Snyder needs to be fired. Now, bonus scene. I want to talk about the last post-credit scene. The mid post-credit scene was it was almost a throwaway. It was the race between Superman and the Flash. Done so many times. Yeah, it was cute. It was funny, but it's ultimately forgettable. Post-credit scene with Slade Wilson and Lex Luthor. I have amazingly high hopes for Lou Manganiello as Slade Wilson Deathstroke. I really love Deathstroke as a character. I think Lou Manganiello has the best chance. Like, I can't think of anybody better to play this. I think he's even better than Manu Bennett, who's playing Slade Wilson right now on the TV shows, and I like Manu Bennett, and I think Manu Bennett is doing a very fine job as Slade Wilson. I think Lou Manganiello is better, and I mean way better. So I got a lot of high hopes. I hope to God my hopes aren't dashed. However, Mrs. Darth Tigger has warned me that if Luthor is still that half Joker, half Mark Zuckerberg abomination that they threw into Batman versus Superman that absolutely killed me, that we're not going anywhere near it, and I have to agree. Lex Luthor was always the most intelligent person in the room. No matter how intelligent anybody else was, Lex Luthor was always more intelligent. And he was evil. He was pure evil, and he was calculating evil. The Jesse Eisenberg, and I hope to God it was not Jesse Eisenberg that did this. I hope it was Zack Snyder. The Lex Luthor that they portrayed there was like, he was crazy, and I was just wrong. There were so many ways of wrong. If you really care to know more about my thoughts about that, ask me in the comments down below, and I will do my actual review from the Batman versus Superman. I still have the notes here somewhere over there. But I will say one last time, DC will not get $1 single of my money for a DC Universe superhero movie if Zack Snyder directs it. He is horrible at superhero movies. He's good at other movies. Don't get me wrong. I like him with a lot of his other movies. Not superhero movies. Zack, stick to what you're good at. And this has been my Darth Tigger's Totally Biased Review. Thanks for watching, guys.